Pay attention. Okay, let's go through the procedures for this lab. Here are the tools that you will need. You will need a scale. You will need a test tube. And you will need a test tube holder. So unfortunately, you guys are doing lab after the other classes. So some of these test tubes might still have sodium carbonate in there. The sodium carbonate is super safe. There's no need for you to worry about MSDS. So you could just put it inside the trash can, that's fine. If you want to dump it into the sink and run it, that's fine. When you want to clean your test tube, just do a dry brush and just clean it out real easy. All right? Dump it all out. Take the brush and get the stuff on the side, and you should be good. I don't want you to wash the test tubes with water, because once you get water on here, then it's going to be really hard for you to get the water off. You have to wait forever. If you want, I will show you a procedure where you flame it, and you could get rid of that water. And let's go through that now. How do you flame a test tube? Well, first you need some fire. Here, let's do this here. Okay, I got a good fire going. Let's suppose, just for the sake of argument, some of you got a test tube a little bit wet. Right? This is now going to be unusable because this water is going to add mass to your calculations, and that's going to mess up your numbers. So the way for you to dry this very quickly is for you to do a procedure called flaming a test tube. That means I need to heat up this test tube. If I just heat up the bottom is hot, but the top is cool, and this test tube will crack. So your procedure looks like this, where you take the test tube and you go all the way down. Notice how I have the flame here, and it's heating up the mouth, and all the way up, so it heats up the bottom, right? Middle to middle, middle to middle. Some kids, so I'm going to do this, and within a few passes, the water should start evaporating pretty darn quickly. Here are some common mistakes. Kids would just do this and just get the bottom like this. If you just do this, the top, notice that the top never touches the flame. The top still stays cool, and that's still a dangerous situation. So again, go all the way down and all the way up. All right? So it's okay if you kind of tap the counter a little bit. That's not the worst thing. All I want you to do is make sure this whole thing is warm. And look, this thing is dry. But unfortunately, if you do get your test tube wet, yeah, you flamed it, it's dry, but now it's still warm and it's unusable. So here, you'll need to set it down for a little bit. For your actual lab, the first thing you got to do is weigh a test tube. Let me grab a new one. Weigh a test tube with its test tube holder. Before you even start, make sure that the test tube says Pyrex. There are a few non-Pyrex test tubes around. Don't use them because they'll crack, right? They're not meant for high heat. A Pyrex test tube, and then weigh both the test tube and the test tube holder just all at once. So I'm going to weigh this sucker. This thing is 34.28 grams. 34.28 grams. Step 2, grab your scoop. The amount of baking soda matters. And load up your test tube. A good scoop like this is good. You want around 1 gram of baking soda. If you have too much baking soda, the stuff in the middle doesn't really decompose. If you have very little baking soda, your error is a little high because your numbers are so small. Make sense? So about 1 gram is a good amount. Maybe like 1.5 grams, 1.2 grams. So here I'm going to reweigh it. And now I got 35.62. I don't really remember my first number, but I think it's about 1 gram, yeah?
Yeah.
Right? And then, look here. Now that I have my initial mass and my final mass, I know how much baking soda is in here. Then I flame for around 3 minutes. Right? Don't go too far, that does nothing. So let it kind of lick the test tube, just kind of go back and forth for around 3 minutes. That's going to get it to temperature. In fact, you'll probably get good numbers by just doing this for about 1.5 minutes. But just to be safe, just so that all of it decomposes, go back and forth for 3 minutes. When you're done flaming, this thing is going to be piping hot. Can you find the final mass immediately?
No.
No. You set it down, let it cool. As it cools, you can go through the stoich inside that worksheet. Make sense? Hey, let's get safe and let's get working.